set our intentions with our opening prayer. So please take a moment and relax. Take a few deep breaths and center yourself in your heart space, where our heart and mind become one with divine mind. And this is a space that we can go to any time, and it only takes a moment. This is not a practice that requires hours on your knees day after day. This is a practice that you can use in any moment. And it can take only a moment. And, you know, sometimes when we are in a stressful situation, we call out to that divine power and presence and we ask for help. That is the connection. That is the connection we can access anytime. So today we ask that we all gain insight from what we hear today, from what we share today, from what we bring, we will take and give to another. That is the purpose. That is our intention, to live the truths we know so that others might see us and ask, where did you gain that knowledge? How are you able to be so calm in such a stressful situation? And we can then relate to them how we became the person that we have become. And it is through these teachings. Unity and all other New Thought teachings are helping us to learn of a divine that loves us unconditionally, that is there for us in good times and in times of trouble. And we are so grateful for that knowing, so grateful for that presence and power, so grateful that we can all be here together today to learn, to share, and to grow, and to raise our consciousness to that space of oneness where we know God is good all the time. We thank you for bringing us together today, for getting everyone home safely, and we appreciate this time. And together we all say, Amen. And as I was getting ready this morning to leave for this class, I read the Daily Word every day, and I read this, and I know you read it in church. Oh my gosh, this fits so well, because we're going to be talking, this kind of really is in a nutshell what we're going to be talking about today. When I listen to my inner conversation, and recurring thoughts, those things that come over and over, I may hear fear-based limiting talk, or I may hear positive words encouraging me to live joyfully and confidently. The choice is mine. Through my divine gift of power, I take command of my thoughts and my life. I release thoughts of powerlessness, and as I do, my negative self-talk diminishes. I affirm my divine inheritance of faith, wisdom, understanding, and strength with my thoughts, begins there, words, and actions. The power to live a full life is mine. I embrace insights I've gained through experience. I own my mistakes without shame or embarrassment. I am eager to learn. I am willing to try new things and stretch myself. In power, I thrive. And the verse from Proverbs is also perfect. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. I read that this morning and I'm like, why didn't I read that before I started preparing for this class? Because it's exactly what we're going to talk about today. It just amazed me how the universe conspires to do us good. So first we're going to take a few moments and review what we talked about last week. And we're going to spend a little bit of time with this each week. So we'll be just prepare for this, because this is not, as the class name, it's a holistic approach to prosperity. And everything is connected. Each is an indivisible part of the whole. What does indivisible mean?
Not divided. Can't divide.
You cannot be separate. So even though we may think we are separate or separated from that divinity which lives in us, we aren't. We're just choosing to think that way. God is all, and we are. Is our mind really separate from our body? Are our emotions and relations really separate from our mind? Or our spirit is certainly not separate, and our finances are the same. So today we're going to talk about the mind and the power of our thoughts. And last week I asked you, I hope some of you did this, I hope all of you did this. But if you have not taken the time to do this yet, this, knowing what your core beliefs are, defining them, recognizing what you're thinking, is if you got nothing else out of all of the classes, if you just do this.
I did mine.
Good girl, Kim. And some of you, when you do this, are going to make some discoveries. Because when I first did this, I made some discoveries that I needed to make some changes. So if you have not yet, and do this, remember when we did our white stone ceremony a few weeks ago? All this stuff ties together. You take it into meditation, and you can take it one at a time, and keep a pencil and paper, a pen and paper nearby, or a journal nearby, and ask, and then go into meditation and listen and feel the response that you get. And if you feel that there's some hidden fears, some hidden worries, you need, Mike and I were talking earlier, what we resist persists. So you have to recognize it and face it. So if you haven't done this yet, it's super important. Prosperity is a mindset. It is your expectation. So expect wealth, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of relationships, a wealth of income, and a wealth of wisdom. Because what we expect is what we receive. And a prosperity consciousness, according to Abraham Hicks, tells us, never mind what is, what we see out there, just imagine it the way you want it to be. And then when you do that, you increase your vibration until it becomes a match with what it is you desire. And when your vibration is a match for what you desire, it cannot help but manifest. Our state of consciousness is what determines what we perceive and experience in the world. So when our state of consciousness is raised, what we experience is, let me put it this way, it isn't always better. The experiences don't necessarily change all that much. There are still going to be times when things don't go the way you want them to. The difference is in you. The difference is in how you respond, how you think, how you handle that situation. As above, so below, as within, so without. And always remember that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That divine lives in, through, and as you. There's a lot of things that I, as an individual, am incapable of doing. Yet there is a presence and power in me that lives in, through, and as me that can make things possible that Anita could never do. And the same is true for each and every one of you. Love Eric Butterworth. This quote will probably stay with us throughout the class because it just fits perfectly. And Ruth Ann, can you read that for us, please?
Prosperity is not just having things, it is a consciousness that attracts the things. Prosperity is a way of thinking and living, and not just having money or things. Prosperity is a way of...
Poverty
is a way of living and thinking, and not just a lack of money or things.
Right. And that's what's, again, it's the crux of the whole thing. It's our consciousness. If we have a prosperity consciousness in all areas of life, then we will experience that abundance. That is the divine. And today we're focusing on our mental or mind prosperity. And Jesus said it this way, I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. And that is for us to remember. So this is the objectives of this class is to review the first session. We're going to look at our conscious, subconscious, and superconscious minds. We're going to discuss the power of thought and how it relates to cause and effect. We're going to look at an anatomy of consciousness, so to speak, and talk about empowered versus disempowered thinking. And we're going to talk some more about self-evaluation, back to those core beliefs. And then we're going to briefly explore our upcoming sessions. So first, the power of thought. This one down here you can't see very well, but it begins with, we talk about our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. And our conscious mind defines our thoughts and actions that are within our awareness. Conscious mind is our awareness. Because, and if we're not, one of my favorite sayings is a little snippet that says, all change begins with awareness. Because until you become aware of something, if you don't know it's there, then you can't change it. And that's why I want you to look at those hidden beliefs. Because there are some. Trust me. I'm still finding them. And I think as long as we are on this physical plane of existence, we're going to continue to find them. Those hidden beliefs. And we can't change those hidden beliefs until we know they're there. Until we have a conscious awareness of them. Now, our subconscious mind is a big storage cabinet. It stores all of our past events, all of our memories, and from those events and memories, it creates our perceptions. And it bases them on past experiences. So because we had a super scary incident as a child with a spider or a snake, guess what? We are now adults afraid of spiders and snakes. I mean, there are other little kids that didn't have those experiences. And guess what? They're not afraid. So that subconscious mind is, everything is stored there, but we are not aware of everything that is stored there. So we need, that's, again, back to the, what are those hidden subconscious beliefs? And then it is all of it is God mind. Everything is God mind. You know, everything from a coffee cup or a table to a human being is an individualized expression of the mind of the divine. Whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it a presence and power, whatever, I don't care what name you give to it. And other religions use different names for that same presence and power. But it's all God. Yeah.
Anita, it's funny, this just struck me when you were talking about subconscious and our own experiences. Well, I have one that was passed on to me by proxy. My mother was terrified of bees.
Right.
She passed that on to me. She instilled in me how terrifying bees were. Do you know that most of my life, I couldn't even eat honey. I'm just telling you that she wouldn't let me plant flowers. I would be somewhere and there was a bee in the vicinity and I would be running and people would say, "What's the matter?" There's a bee.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was only just within the last 10 years that I realized that bees have never done anything to me, and they usually don't bother me.
Right.
And you know the old saying that people say, well, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you. And you know what my answer used to be? Yeah, well, what do bees consider bothering them?
Yeah, something about facing fears.
And then something just occurred to me. I was somewhere and a bee was flying around. And it wasn't bothering me a bit.
Yeah. Great. That's wonderful. Good example.
Let's flash back to the last slide
Sure.
real quickly. I just didn't get
Sure.
Thank you. Got it.
Oh,
And these are going to be available, right?
Yeah.
People don't know
You know,
later, so-
I can send I can send an email with the whole presentation on. That's fine. I was actually thinking about I can print out the slides with little places where you can write next to it, but I just didn't want to use the paper and ink to do it.
That's a lot.
So I was being cheap. Okay.
Maybe we could
All
put
right.
our email on the list that's going around.
Yeah, if you want, put your email on the list. Especially if you're not in the Unity
Membership directory.
membership directory. Thank you. All right. So our conscious mind. We're going to start with that. Is our adult. That's the adult in the room supposedly. I question that. But it is the worker, and it is the part of us that is the action taker. And our short-term memory is there, and it uses logic and reason, and that famous word, willpower. And I thought it was very interesting when it came to willpower, when I was doing the research for this, that even though willpower resides in the conscious mind, it is very easily overridden by our emotions and our underlying beliefs. So, you know, when I go on a diet, which I do 14 million times a year, and then I walk into the room after church, the hospitality room, and I see chocolate, something that looks absolutely delicious that I love. Is my willpower strong enough to overcome my emotion for how good chocolate makes me feel?
exactly.
Yes.
But it is good for you. Dark chocolate is good for your heart.
And I can make all those justifications. I mean, that's the way it works. So don't feel so bad when willpower isn't really working. Dean, did you have something to add? Okay, I thought you did.
No.
Okay, all right. And that's our present awareness resides in our conscious, our current experiences, and our consciousness analyzes our incoming data. But what's interesting, it does a little more than analyze. It decides for us whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And what does it base it on? Our
Emotion.
past experiences. You know, if it's like, if seeing a flower is a good thing, seeing a bee next to the flower makes it not so good. So this is the part of us that thinks and plans, and it looks at what we can see. All right, so that's our conscious. Our subconscious is our inner child. It's our supervisor, it's our director. This is where we get our automatic reactions. That comes from our subconscious. It's where our long-term memory resides, our feelings. It's also where we go for our spiritual connection. So the subconscious is not bad or good. It just is. And actually, that's the way everything is. It just is. It holds our underlying beliefs. And the beliefs that don't serve us, if we don't know that they are there, we cannot do anything to change them. So we want to know what their underlying beliefs are, because though there are deeper motivations that get us doing stuff that we think, why am I doing this? Or why do I keep having this same experience with different people in different situations? But bottom line, it's the same doggone experience.
Maybe that's our computer.
Exactly. That's our
Well,
computer.
that's where like you're getting dreams.
Right.
Sometimes people like to interpret their dreams, or like I had a dream about fried chicken. So the next day I wanted fried chicken.
It's also where we have our emotions and we store our wounds and our shadows and our traumas. This is where our self-talk comes from. And if we don't pay attention to that self-talk, it can be telling us stuff that is not in our best interest. It's also the source of our creativity, our relationship patterns, our addictions, and our involuntary body. It makes our heart beat and our lungs work and all that good stuff too. And then the superconscious is that all that is, that whatever name we give it, that divine essence, that is, was, and always will be. It is all power, all knowledge, omnipotent, omnipresent, and what's the other omni that I'm missing?
Omniscient?
Omniscient. Omniscient.
I'm guessing.
Did I say omniscient?
Omnipotent.
Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent.
Yeah.
Yes, but in unity, rather than saying omniscient, we like to say omniscience. Instead of omnipresent, omnipresence, because it is all. And omnipotent, instead of omnipotence, omnipotent, omnipotence. So it's a technicality, but sometimes those technicalities are important. So, and this is when anybody ever known a child prodigy? I mean, it's
Sheldon.
like, yeah, Sheldon.
Oh, Sheldon Cooper. We all know him.
I love
I mean, the children that have these abilities that just, I see these kids that, there was something on, I don't know if it was on a Sunday morning show or whatever. There's a little kid that loved pianos. And he sat down his parents sat him down in front of a piano, and this kid, he was like 3.
Reincarnation.
And he starts playing. It's just, that kind of stuff is not conscious or subconscious. That's from God mind.
Kind of like
Prodigies.
Edgar Casey, or
Yes.
certain people that
Have that now.
see
Yep.
things.
And in the research I did for this, it mentioned clairvoyance, clairaudience, which is the hearing. And there was another clair that I never heard of, which was, I forget what it was called, but it was about taste.
Ooh.
And I thought that would be weird. I don't know that I would like that one. Anyway.
That's what they're either like liver or you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't. Chef. You could be a world-renowned chef if you had a tasting.
Oh,
I
yes.
did have a
Yeah,
dream about
yeah,
fried
yeah.
chicken, you missed that.
So let's kind of dig into this a little bit more and see if we can understand how our mind works. First, our conscious mind. That's our thinking, rational mind, and it gives us conscious awareness of our five senses. The five senses reside in the subconscious, but our conscious mind gives us awareness of those five senses. So we know when we smell something, that smells like, ooh, somebody's making a pie. Yum. You know, our smell. When we touch something, oh, that's so soft. It feels so comforting, or it's prickly, or whatever. It tells us what we see, and and in Unity, we talk a lot about seeing beyond appearances. So then we move to our subconscious mind, and that's our feeling or emotional mind. And it's also where we store all that stuff. Now, all of these things in our conscious and subconscious mind are the creative cause. And cause is non-physical. And that's the really important thing to remember in this. Cause is non-physical. There is no physical cause, there is no physical means of, there is, but primarily cause is non-physical. The effect is physical. We get the effects in our body, we experience the effect in the world. It's what we experience, what we see, what we physically feel, not feel emotionally. Those are all the effects of what happens in our conscious and subconscious mind, which the mind is non-physical. And then, of course, all of this is within God mind. And that we as human beings, while we are in this physical form, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And while we are having this human experience, we are able to access that superconscious mind whenever we want. It's always there, always available. It is working in, through, and as us, and for us. It can take anything and make something that is apparently not so good into maybe the best thing that's ever happened to us. That's the power of that superconscious mind. So the power of thought,
Oh my God.
anybody know Mike Dooley?
Yeah.
I do too. If you don't, it's tut.com,
Yes,
tut.com. And he gives these notes from the universe on a daily basis, and they're just, most of the time, just delightful. Funny and pointed.
And relatable.
And they make a lot of sense. So the next slide, and Rusty, and I'm going to ask you to read this. So this, I think you'll enjoy.
What was that website?
tut.com.
Like a king.
King.
Yeah, like King Tut. Exactly.
What does TUT stand for?
P-U-T.
Oh, P.
Universe.
I forget. It does have a... Mike Dooley's story, his personal story, is really quite amazing. So if you kind of get into his stuff, his book, he's written several books, and I reference a lot of his stuff in here. So anyway, Rusty.
It's not possible, for better or worse. You cannot significantly change your life by manipulating the material world. Not by working harder, not by studying longer, not by schmoozing, not by sweating, not by fasting, not by the hair of your chinny chin chin. But great change is inescapable when you first begin manipulating the world of your thoughts. It's that simple. The universe. You gotta chill.
That's the kind of stuff that he says. And it just, that's where that whole, yeah, we can use our willpower to do that, to try to do this or try to do that, and that's another key word, is the whole try thing, because that gives me an out. Oh, I'm trying to lose weight. But we can't, manipulating what getting more things, getting a better job, driving a better car. There are so many people that are unaware of the fact that doing all those things, having all those things, is not going to make them any happier. But that's why they go after them. Oh, when I have that job. Oh, when I have that house. Oh, when I can take that vacation. Oh, when I can have that second home. Then I'll be happy. But then they get it. And after the initial, "Woo, this is so cool," wears off, it's back to the same old, same old. Well, maybe I need a bigger house.
Living in the future all the time. All the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Depressing.
Or living on someday I'll.
Exactly.
Someday I'll. That's a good one, I like that.
Everything, yeah.
I have a lot of experience with that.
So, everything in the physical world is made out of atoms. Atoms are made out of energy, and energy is made out of consciousness. This comes from quantum physics. This is not unity teaching. This is not metaphysical teaching. This is science. This is what science is saying. And one of the greatest scientists of all time, Albert Einstein, said everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. And this is not philosophy. This is physics. I mean, that's one of the things that is, when I started hearing about, not learning, because I know very little about real quantum physics, but that connection between science and metaphysics is so exciting to me, because when you can say, Albert Einstein says that when I match the frequency, the vibration of what I want I can make that my reality. It's all possible. Science tells us that all things are possible. And this one, I just found this. And you're able to read that.
Sure. Everything is energy. Your thoughts begin it, your emotions amplify it, and your actions give energy momentum.
That's worth writing down. I mean, that in and of itself. Again, there's so many little things that we can remember. And if we just remember one little thing from our time together today, just one little thing, and use it. That's the key word. Use it. Put it into action. Your thoughts begin it. Your emotions amplify it. And your actions give that energy momentum. How exciting is that to know?
Stop!
Turn my phone off. I can't believe this.
Every single time you put your hands on, you're making.
And we can personalize that. My thoughts begin it, my emotions amplify it, and my actions. And that
You
always
bet.
helps me to personalize it.
Yes,
Very well.
indeed. Very good
Otherwise,
idea,
you feel like
Carol.
you're
I
being
had turned it off. I don't understand this.
My emotions.
It's energy. I guess so.
That was
Well,
fun.
how does that work when you know, like you're visualizing something, but you don't have to visualize how you're gonna do it. Because
No.
this is saying, you know, it sounds like do your part to do
Sometimes your part is just to do what you just said.
Oh, okay,
That's your part.
okay.
Looking at the Trinity,
I was
divine
gonna say, I
mind,
know that.
divine ideas.
Like
Sure.
Wayne Dyer said,
Yes.
when you believe it, you'll see it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you're real doing the work isn't necessarily going out there and trying to make something happen.
Right.
Doing the work is creating the reality within your consciousness.
Okay.
That's why you have mastermind partners, because they can see for you what you can't see for yourself.
Yes. I mean, we've been doing masterminds. Jack Boland's church. I
I always
mean,
bought his journals every year.
every year I still have stacks of them in my basement. I keep
Me too.
saying I'm going to look through those someday. I bet they would be real interesting.
I could leave it after one
Sure,
more lot minute,
sure.
thank you.
But while she's doing that, I want to affirm that we will get a dimmer switch in here
Mm.
so that, is that possible? Anybody know enough about electricity? Is it possible to actually put a dimmer switch on that type of a
On these kinds of
No, no.
lights, I don't know.
if you can do it on these, on floors.
Oh, that's
Oh, on
my
these
son-in-law.
kinds of lights, the fluorescent tubes, maybe not.
I'll ask my son-in-law.
Thanks.
He'll know. He's a
There must
he's
be a
an
way.
I'm
I've seen
electrician.
it
affirming
burn.
it's possible.
Okay. So, the power of thought, and this is what some other people have said. Gandhi said, Tara, can you read that?
Yes. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes from Mahatma.
You can change it to person. A
Linda?
person is but a product.
Can
of
you
his
read
own
that?
birth.
Sure. What you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. Buddha.
Sharon?
Change your thoughts and you change your world.
Sounds like a lot like Wayne Dyer to me. It's not attributed to him, but I think that's the name of one of his books. And this one might be hard for other people to read. It says, by choosing your thoughts and by selecting which emotional currents you will release and which you will reinforce, you determine the quality of your light with a capital L. You determine the effects that you will have upon others and the nature of the experiences of your life. And that's from Gary Zukov. Has anybody read The Seat of the Soul?
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. If you have read it, I highly recommend you read it again. Because the second time you pick it up, and the third time you pick it up, and the fourth time you pick it up, it's like reading a brand new book. Because, why? Because your consciousness is changed. And as you grow, you will see things in there, you will read things in there that you weren't ready for yet when you read it previously. Super good book. Okay, so now let's talk about empowerment. And I had to put this in for Linda. I know. Can you read that, Mike, the bottom part?
Developing the power to accomplish what you want and persisting until it is done. There are no two steps to this.
There are two steps.
Oh, there are two steps to this. I saw a no. Saying no to what you don't want, and saying yes to what you do want.
So that's like a dictionary definition of empowerment. What does that sound a lot like to you?
Affirmations and denials.
That's what I got out of it too. Absolutely. So when we're empowered, we say no, we do our denials, and then we say yes, our affirmation to what we do want. And we put the emphasis on what you do want. I try to make the denials as quick and get them out of the way as possible. Because the cause is from our thoughts and feelings, and the effect that we get from, depending on what our thoughts and feelings are, is we either become empowered or disempowered. We have to understand that connection. Every act, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention. That intention is a cause that exists as one with the effect. If we participate with the cause, it is not possible for us to not participate in the effect. And this is another quote from Gary Zukav from The Seed of the Soul. So let's talk about what this says. What do you get from this? Anyone?
If our mind creates the cause, what comes to pass is going to impact us.
Correct.
We can't separate ourselves from the end result of what we've created.
That's, in a nutshell, yes. So that's why it's so important to do the work, to find those core beliefs, to know what's going on in that noggin of ours, to know what's going on, to uncover those feelings that we've kept hidden away. Because empowering thoughts and feelings make us feel like we can do anything. And disempowering thoughts and feelings have us wanting to curl up in a ball and put a blanket over our head. And the question is, what are we thinking? We have to know. We have to know. And that's why we're here. That's what brought all of us to unity, really. Something was going on in our life and we were feeling like we wanted to curl up in a ball and throw a blanket over our heads and said, there's gotta be something. I'm missing something. And I need to find out what it is. Maybe this will help me. And it's made all the difference for me. All the difference. But it doesn't end. You don't ever stop working. I still have days where I want to throw a blanket over my head. And then it's like, okay, what's going on now? And then you work. You do the work.
There is a law of physics that I remember when you first put up Albert Einstein and then the Gary Zukav quote. I think it's the last slide if you go back to it. If you go back to the last slide, if we participate with the cause, it's not possible for us not to participate in the effect. I use this with women that I mentor or I'm helping, maybe not mentor professionally, but there is this, and I am the least scientific person out there, you must understand. How I know this quote, I will never know.
Keep it short.
But for every action, there is an equal yet opposite reaction. And I also use nature reports of action with them. So when you remove something, like the chocolate, you have to replace it with something, or nature, if you notice this, if you dig a hole,
vacuum.
yeah, if you dig a hole, it starts to fill it up.
Yeah.
If you don't put something in it,
Yeah.
I did a whole story
Very
about it.
So let's talk about being self-empowered versus disempowered. Self-empowered people make a conscious decision to take control over their thoughts and thus their lives. Disempowered people don't know, or perhaps they don't believe, that they have control over their thoughts or their lives. So a self-empowered person feels and thinks about themselves as a quote-unquote winner, and of course a disempowered person, the opposite. What kind of language does an empowered versus a disempowered person use?
Positive thinking.
Positive
I'm
thinking,
prosperous
yes.
Versus I'm
Reinforce
BROKE that I'm not gonna say out loud.
Correct. I can, I prefer, I will, I choose. Those are the I am type sayings of a self-empowered person, not their opposite. and you listen to your own self-talk. Listen. Take notice. And if you need to, start working on making a change. A self-empowered person feels responsible. They hold themselves accountable. They take ownership. What did it say in here?
It's perfect.
I own my mistakes without shame or embarrassment. I think I'm going to frame this. I mean, this is just amazing. It is just amazing how well that fits. And this is a quote from Jim Rohn. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. And the word responsibility is your ability to respond in the way you choose. And if you think of responsibility in that way, it's not onerous. It's not, oh, I don't want any more responsibility. No, it's just saying, I am able to choose how I respond. And Wayne Dyer said, all blame is a waste of time. No matter how much fault you find with another, and regardless of how much you blame them, it will not change you.
Or the situation.
Roseanne.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the second column to me reminds me of victim mentality, which I guess can be connected to loser, but I think a lot of us might relate more to victim.
Yep. Yeah. So if you ever listen to Joel Osteen, he uses a lot of the analogies that sound alike. You go from victim to victor. And that's what we're doing. We're moving from that victim mentality to I am victorious. I can do all things through that Christ self that lives in, through, and as me. And that's when we get there, that's when things really start to click. Yes.
Like with people that get really sick emotionally, mentally ill, is that what happens to them? Is that their unconscious overwhelms their consciousness in and out negative thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than them taking control of their thoughts, they have allowed their thoughts to take control of them. And they believe that what's coming from their, and it's basically coming from their subconscious. And I'm no psychologist, so, but to me, because I personally know people who do that.
Yes, what are
And what I do with that person, who I dearly love, by the way, I remind them, I want you to, you need to, it's not that, I hate doing the shoulds and needs and all that stuff, but to try to get that person to take control of their own thoughts. Can you just push that aside and say something else instead? Can you not think about that and think about something else instead? Can you keep your vision on where you want your life to go rather than all the terrible things that have happened in the past? Just encourage them to be forward thinking instead of backward thinking. Instead of thinking about the past and worrying about the past. What is that? What is the saying from AA?
You're stinking thinking?
No.
Oh, we will not regret the past.
That's it.
We will not regret the past, nor
to shut the door on it.
Right.
So you need to know about it, but then you need to move on.
Exactly. So this actually came from one of my fellow students in one of the, right now we're working on our credo, our personal beliefs. And she said, pardon me, she said when she's feeling a disempowered emotion, such as fear or anger, what she does is she steps back and she takes a look at the beliefs that are behind those feelings. And by doing that, she finds that this is an area that is rich with opportunity to grow and evolve. And Sylvia Hayes, a fellow student of mine, she's going to be a great unity minister. She's a great human being. And I just thought this was so insightful. Because that's what happened. You know, sometimes we think, why do all these bad things keep happening? Well, they're not bad things. They're opportunities. They're opportunities for us to look at it and go, okay, something is in here for me to learn from, for me to grow from. So what can let me just step back and see what's going on in my consciousness that put me in this situation, because I've experienced something like this a few times before.
And that's where the no blame comes in. Because if
Exactly.
you blame, you can't do what you just said. You know what I mean? No blame universe.
Yep.
What were those two examples of, disempowered things? Fear and, what was the other one you mentioned?
Anger.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
fear and
anger.
anger. Yeah.
Okay,
Those are just. There could be lots of other things,
yeah, but these are
but
examples.
those are good examples.
It's a big one.
Shame,
Worry.
worry,
Yeah.
fear, yeah.
So, Pythagoras, how many thousands of years ago? I mean, that's pre-Jesus is Pythagoras. Man, know thyself, then thou shalt know the universe and God. And that's what this session is all about. It's about encouraging each and every one of us to really dig down and know ourselves. I was hesitant to put this in, but I felt like had to put it here. And this is from a book. This book. It's a little crass, but boy, does it get to the point. This is the book that we are using for my Credo class. It's called Maybe It's You. Cut the crap, face your fears, and love your life.
I like that.
And it's got some exercises in it that'll put you to the test. I believe that. I mean, I'm experiencing that. So she said, ever notice that no matter how many kind and appreciative emails, texts, or calls you receive, the only one you really care about is the one lousy one you got. And the reason we love to hate an email, crappy call, or snide remark, or interpreted eye roll, oh, did you see how she looked at me? It's not just because it hurts, but because, drum roll please, we agree with it. Consciously or subconsciously, it gives us evidence of our own beliefs and theories.
You know what? I can get that way, even if I don't get a response from a good email.
Oh, God, yes.
Just happened today, you know, like, did they see it? Did they read it? Did they care? And I can go into that so fast. Saying, oh,
Yeah.
certain
This
day off,
is,
certain day especially.
we need
Or a
to,
text.
That's what I'm
we
saying. These are
need
tests
to,
sometimes
we
like
need to, we need to think about this. This is important.
that. Oh, then I'll get into, oh my God, I sent too many. I said they're too long. She doesn't love him. I mean, I can make up the story as long as this arm.
Yes. Yeah.
That's because
Oh, yeah,
consciously
underneath
or
that,
subconsciously,
I just heard it.
you are telling yourself that you need to work on. That's an area, Carol, that I would just, because you're so honestly You're so wonderful.
She's so
Girl,
sweet.
You
but no,
are
listen,
so.
But it takes courage to, all of us can relate to that, I would think, at some time. I mean, 24/7 I'm not there.
Right.
But the thing I do now is, though, to make me grow, and it's not easy, I will ask the person, did you see it? I don't know if you saw it or not, because that way I can at least get some kind of feedback.
Right.
You know, I don't mean every time, but with
Right.
a safe person,
Right.
person,
Right.
not some of my family.
Oh, listen. Listen,
I mean,
it doesn't
thank you.
matter if I've got 40 friends that want to go out with me 1 week or 1 month or something, or at a party, everybody's talking to me. It's that one person.
Of course.
It's that one person, and I can tell you, it's my neighbor. She's a prime example. She's a dry
It's
drunk.
okay. It's okay.
You know,
It's okay.
and I go to her door all the time and get rejected. All the time, all the time, all the time. Just every now and then she throws a crumb at me.
Well,
Okay, but what I'm saying is, I always wonder what it is about me. I'm such a cool person. And, you know, and it's like, it's that person that won't make the time for me. It's another neighbor. It's the
then
person
what you
I always
need
want,
to do
but I
is
can't
dig
have.
into your own beliefs about yourself. It's not about them, it's about you. It's not about them, it's about you.
I know.
That's what we
I
each
know.
have to remember. It's not about what they're doing. It's about us. It's about how we're responding. It's about how we're. Go ahead, Jackie.
In the in the 4 agreements, it says don't take anything
Yes.
personally, and we always do.
Yeah,
No,
that's
of
a
course.
hard one.
Well, some things are definitely directed at us.
And really, you know, it's
Honestly-
we're not that important.
And
you know?
even when it is directed
In
at
their
us,
life.
it's still not about us.
It's what's going on with them.
Right.
It's what's going on with them.
I used to have a friend that told me that. It was
I know.
so
It's
comforting.
just-
So good.
So that
I've monitored myself.
this
at parties
stuff is
even.
so important, guys.
It could be everybody.
It's so very important.
It's that one person that doesn't notice I'm there.
Again, this is gonna come up because if you haven't done it yet, do it. If you've done it, do it again. When you find yourself in a similar situation that you're not too happy about, ask yourself, what is here for me? There is hidden opportunity here for me.
This reminds me of.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Ask yourself, what does this remind me of? Where have I, what's happened before that was like this, and why do I keep encountering this? What is there for me to learn? And then take it into meditation.
I have a little prayer. God, help me to see what you would have me see in the light you would have me see it.
Oh, I love that.
In the light, you would have me see it.
Yeah, in the way you want me to see it, because there's something for me to learn here, and
Yes.
I ask for your help to help me be
I need
willing.
to write that up on the slide.
Can you say that, can you say that again, please? Please help me to see.
She's gonna write
She's
it
gonna
on
write
the
it. She's gonna write it.
Anita, on
Yeah,
number
right on the
5,
board, right
on
on
number
the-
5,
Help me
I know
to
with
see
me it's fear.
what you would
It's
have
not that
me
I don't
see.
have a prosperous mindset or have studied prosperity, but I have this terrible fear, and I know where it comes from my grandparents, having been prosperous all their lives, and then at the end of their lives there wasn't any money. I'm terrified. I'm always terrified that I am going to be retired, a senior. I'm turning 60 this year, and I'm not going to have any money. There's not going to be food. I'm not going to have any money. I'm not going to have any money.
Hey, do not
I know.
voice those words. Do not.
I don't. I hoard money
You
as a
say
result.
you know, but you
Yeah.
just did.
Oh.
Don't.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Affirm.
Melanie reminds me.
Affirm, I am comfortably,
Like when I say
my needs are comfortably supplied.
Yeah, I like that because
Yeah. It's just.
Write this down, peeps. Take a picture of it with your phone.
That's easier.
This is beautiful
that
stuff.
would be easier.
Help me see what you would have me see in the light you would have me see it.
And to me,
Oh, sorry.
that's the
Sorry.
key, that's what Reverend Ben was talking about. I I understand that the part where we have negative experiences or negative thoughts come up, and then we say, where is this coming from? And when we do that, we can receive answers. Oftentimes, though, the answer still is not the answer.
Mhm.
Because we'll find the next day, next week, or whatever, boom, we're right back there.
Mhm.
But if we take our questions to Holy Spirit, and we listen for the Holy Spirit's answer, then that's when real change can occur. So, and that's what Russ Hand's prayer is
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're just involved in this never-ending analysis by paralysis, kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not that we, because our faculties, our mental abilities are very powerful. When we join those with God, then they become, what's the word? Then they become transcendent, or they allow us then to transform out of our negativity into the light. But we got to have that God component. We got to take that with us wherever we're going in our mind. Otherwise, it's just nonsense and more nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very insightful, Gary.
It's a 12-step phrase. My mind is a very dangerous place to venture into alone.
I love it. Would someone like to read this quote from Gary Zuka's Seed of the Soul? Obviously, you know which book that I was really leaning into this time. Can you read it, Linda?
Yeah. When the personality comes fully to serve the energy of its soul, that is authentic empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So when we lean in to that God self that Gary was just talking about, that's where we can really find our true empowerment. So now we're going to talk briefly about self-evaluation. And you can use these 4 steps. I think they're helpful. Begin with the reflection, and then evaluate how that fits for you. Take ownership without shame or blame, like it said in the Daily Word today, and then follow that with action. And that action may be just to go back into reflection.
Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time. There, you know what? When we are in this physical form, we are in a time continuum. And time is what we make of it. I mean, if we're gonna, I do my best not to tell myself it's going to take time. Because then I'm affirming to myself that it's going to be whatever length of time, weeks, months, years, whatever, before it's whatever I'm working on is going to be realized.
It's a limitation.
Yeah. So the time thing, yes, it's there, but how about this time instead of this time? You know, how about a short period of time instead of a long period of time? And Socrates, again, this is prior to the time of Jesus, said to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. So ask. And this comes from another Unity minister, Martha Creek, who wrote a book called Martha's Pearls. And she says to ask, what is in your mind that you continue to avoid looking at? And then ask yourself, what is the price you pay for not looking, seeing, and telling yourself the truth about the situation? And what is the payoff for keeping focus on your pain, your suffering, and your misery? Because there's a payoff. If you're not letting it go, there's a payoff. What are the consequences to your life of staying stuck in the old, painful patterns you've adopted? And what's another possibility? What is something you are willing to do differently to create a different experience of what is? Great questions. Great questions to ask yourself. We can carry thoughts that are filled with fear, hurt, anger, and limiting beliefs, or we can change those thoughts and carry uplifting beliefs, forgiveness, peace, faith. We have a choice. That's the beauty of being human. When's the best time to lighten our load? Whenever we want to climb. You want to change your elevation? You want to change your level of consciousness? Let go of some of the old junk. Ask yourself, when you look in a mirror, what do you see?
My best friend had that in her.
What matters the most is how we see ourselves.
My friend had that.
And Ruth Ann, would you read this for us, please?
When you have a prosperity mindset, you see opportunities for wealth and growth creation instead of obstacles in every challenging situation.
Can you tell Mike's TV story again?
I don't think we have time.
Oh, it's quick. Because I always think of that.
Mike's TV broke.
Oh,
And instead of getting up and grumbling about it, he calls from the other room, "Get your purse, we're going shopping. This is an opportunity to upgrade. The TV broke."
I meant to tell you how much I love that.
I keep remembering
That's a prosperity
that all
mindset.
the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
I
and
try
you
to
knew
remember.
it was heavy into unity for a long time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Oh,
that's a prosperity mindset. It's an opportunity. So, watch your thoughts and feelings, for they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Thank you.
I love Mike's TV stuff.
Next week, we're going to be talking about physical prosperity. Linda Ridley will be our primary presenter. I'm going to add a few little things in there if she'll permit me. And I like this quote from Catherine Ponder. Truly, where there is a condition of ill health, there's a situation where the ill person has been subjected to internal discord of mind, body, or affairs. Prosperous thinking, expressed as harmonious thinking, helps to produce harmony of body as well as in one's relationships and environment. And then we're going to have a closing prayer, if you would please. Find yourself a comfortable position. Relax. Take a couple of deep breaths. We are so grateful, Divine Spirit, that you were here working with us and through us today. And we felt that presence so powerfully. And we are so grateful for it. And we are so grateful for all that we've learned and all that we are taking with us out into the world and into our lives. Because we know it's making a difference. And we are making a difference. We are making a difference in our own lives and in the lives of people we touch. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.